name's Monica Miller. I am the Content Marketing Manager and looking for Group Operations Lead for Uni Esports. And today I'm here with the Esports Director of Henderson State University, John Price.
Pleasure to meet you, Monica. Great to be here today.
Pleasure to meet you as well. So could you tell me a little bit about how the program got started up at Henderson?
Sure. Back in 2018, we had some students who were interested in esports and began talking to professors and different members of departments. And Henderson has had a large presence of students interested in gaming and the like for a while now. One of our largest student organizations is a group called Legion of Nerds. And it kind of came from that dedication and interest by students who really loved gaming and wanted to compete against other universities and the like. And so it kind of came from those humble beginnings, and very quickly our administration and president got behind the idea and saw that this was something that students really wanted, and it matched the mission of our university. And so within a few months of the idea being pitched, we were given a space and everything else. And since really the fall of 2018, we've had a functioning esports program, and with at this point, about 60 students, as well as scholarships and a budget associated with it as well.
Sorry, I had my mute on. That is awesome. It sounds like the students knew what they wanted, came to admin and was like, let's do this. And you guys were like, sweet. So can you tell me a little bit more? So 60 students, how do you divide up the competitive versus casual? How do you identify those different fine lines when it comes to your esports program?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things is we have plenty of students who are interested in gaming but might not be at a competitive level, and they understand that. And so those students usually have support roles as such. Like, we have members that work with our social media, that do graphic design elements, that also help with coaching and other things. And then we have students that are much more kind of more focused on the competitive nature of things. So for that, we have a few different games. In particular, we play Super Smash Brothers, Overwatch, League of Legends, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, Valorant, and Rocket League. It's a lot to list, and it seems like it grows every semester at this point. But one of the big things that we try to do is have a space for both types of people that want more of the competitive practice schedule element, but also then for students that are kind of looking more for social space. And that's part of the goal of the program, is to be able to balance both of those. It's not easy, but it's something that we work very hard to do and provide for students of any type to be part of our program.
So you were talking a little bit about the special programs that you offer the casual students. Could you go a little bit more into depth into what you do for them?
Sure. Some of the things that we have is, a lot of times we have needs in the program that can't really be filled in other ways. So what we will do is, sometimes they almost do internship-like work if they're interested in that. And so we've actually had students before designed like different parts of logos. We've had students shoutcast. It's one of the things that we've been trying to do, is encouraging students to be shoutcasting. So far, I mostly have to shoutcast our matches, and that's usually a bad thing. It's much better, I think, if we have students and such being able to do those positions, because they're getting real world experience for an industry that affects a variety of different career options and the like. And so one of the things we try to do is provide that kind of an option. And of course, then we have fun nights as well. One of the games everyone seems to be playing right now is Among Us, which is definitely not exactly an esports game, so to speak, but it's something that everyone really has been enjoying as kind of more of a fun way of team building outside of, say, playing our normal competitive games.
That video game is really interesting. I've only first learned about it maybe a week ago, and I started doing some research, and I was like, this is an incredible team building opportunity, not just for esports players, but anybody. Just get these people in a room and get them playing this game. And I think this is going to be a really good intersection between, those who are identify as non-gamers, and those who identify as gamers. Seeing all this potential is going to just keep bringing the spotlight to these really awesome and talented individuals who typically, unfortunately slide through the cracks into typical college fashion. I was always looking for a gaming team to play with when I was in college, and it just didn't exist. So it's so nice and refreshing to be talking to so many schools who are understanding this value and shaping our future, as they make see the trends. So that's awesome that you guys are doing that. I wish that was the thing when I was in school.
I have said that a lot as well.
I'm so jealous, but at least we're getting to make it for them. You know what I mean? So
Exactly. Yeah, and that's something I hear echoed by, I think, pretty much everyone in the space
yeah.
that I've heard of and talked to is that it's an amazing opportunity and something that we all wish that we had at some point when we were going through high school, college as well. But it's nice to at least be able to curate and create a space for those that come after us.
Whoever thought we'd be here?
Well, I did not think so at all, at least for me.
Likewise. Awesome. So it sounds like you have quite a few students participating in the program altogether. Can you tell me a little bit about your facility, what kind of equipment you have, how the operations are? How do you separate it between the protected practice times? How do you utilize it for the casual students? If you could just go into a little bit of detail about that.
Yeah, of course, we'd love to. We have a facility about 1,000 square feet. We're actually just got approved for an expansion, so we'll have about 1,500 square feet. We're hoping probably in the spring of 2021. Inside of our student union, we right now have 12 computers that would in there, all of them capable of playing all the competitive titles we play at a high, so ultra level, as well as with 144 hertz computers. We have Logitech equipment there that's often used in professional environments as well, mechanical keyboards, the whole 9 yards in that sense. In addition to having different televisions that are specifically low lag input for fighting games and the like. So we were lucky enough to have that space since we started back in 2018, and we've just continually building onto it. We're hoping to add another 6 to 12 computers with the expansion coming up soon enough as it is. As for how we use it for competition as well as for kind of our more community aspect, teams have, at the beginning of the semester, we usually have scheduled practice times where the lab is specifically focused on whatever is happening then. So for example, today at 3:30, our Call of Duty team has a 2-hour practice. And so they have priority for the lab. And so while they might not take up the entirety of the lab space, it's one of the things of where anyone that's in there understands that the lab space is primarily for them at that point, and if there's extra space for other people, that's great, but it's entirely possible, especially Call of Duty. Sometimes we have all 12 of the computers being used in some way, shape, or form during that time. As kind of more of the community side of things, we'll try to have a community nights and such where we like play a specific game either in the lab or online, and the lab is available for students in case they can't normally play the game. We also oftentimes have open lab hours where 5 days a week students, even if they're not part of the program, can just come in and use the computers for whatever they want for usually between 3 to 5 hours of the day. Oftentimes it's like during the off hours. So many of our practices and things are all pretty much past 4 p.m. Students because of classes and things. It just works a lot better for them. So we'll usually have it earlier in the day so students can come in that might not be interested in esports or just want to hang out and play. And a lot of times students will be in there all hours of the day. I remember a couple of semesters ago, pretty much from 8 a.m. till when the lab closes at 10:30, there's at least 1, 2, if not almost every computer being used at some point by students practicing or just having a lot of fun.
That is awesome. It definitely sounds like there is a lot of interest beyond those 60 students, I think. I've seen so many programs just double to triple in size within 2 to 3 years of opening, and it's so hard to keep up with all the students because they come crawling out of the woodwork. People don't really talk about gaming in day-to-day conversation as much as they do now. So it's just been really interesting and fascinating to watch that unfold. So something I thought about actually that's not on the list of questions was about your scholarships. You mentioned this at the beginning of the interview. So do you have a tryouts process and a scholarship award designated for competitive versus casual? How does a student go about, I guess, identifying the path to play competitively at Henderson?
Great question. So we do have scholarships. We have about this semester, this year, we gave out about 27 different scholarships totaling around $16,000. Last year was about the same amount, but $15,000. And we just continued to seem to expand that because of interest from students. The process is pretty simple. For students coming into the university or even at the university already, there is a form they can fill out online via our page up on the Henderson website. And that basically kind of details like your some basic information, and then ask you to kind of tell us more about you as a player. Like, let's say you want to play League of Legends for Henderson State. Well, we'd ask you, okay, well, what kind of role do you play? What are some past competitive experiences? What is your elo, if that's relevant for whatever game that might be? And from there, usually there's a set of interviews that'll happen, usually with myself, and then after that initial interview with the captains of the team that they're interested in. And from there, depending if everything's been going well and there's still an interest on both sides, we'd usually have some type of tryout phase after that before we assign scholarships and the like. Competitors that are already at the university do have a similar process in the sense of having to apply and then us considering like how things, their past history with the team and everything else. For more casual players and such, we are starting to offer scholarships that for students that might not be interested so much so in the competitive side of things. So, for example, being a social media kind of like content producer for us, that's a scholarship that we're starting to offer. Also, other people that are willing to help, say, with coaching or help with different elements of analysis. Where I'm also hoping at some point to be offered scholarships even for shoutcasting, depending on how things progress. So we've so far been primarily scholarships for competition, but what I'm hoping in the future is we're going to be having scholarships for a lot more than that.
That is probably one of the most unique things I've learned so far out of all these interviews, that you actually have scholarships designated for certain career paths within the industry. That is, I think, something that has some huge potential in retention and enrollment for sure, because, students might be like, I like to game and I like social media, but how do I put those two things together? And it sounds like you guys are providing that hands-on experience right there, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sweet. So,
it's been a...
go ahead. No, I was going to transition to the next question, but if you have more to say, please.
No, I think the next question probably is what I was just about to get into. So go ahead.
Was it the share something unique or the for anyone who's interested in your program, the advice? Because I feel like they
both
kind
of those.
Okay,
Yeah.
go. I'll preface. So the questions are sharing something unique about Henderson's program, and then also generally what kind of advice would you offer students who are looking to apply to the program? What's something you would want them to know going into it?
Definitely. I think one of the most unique things we have is right now we're working on a esports management degree that's going to be offered through our communications department, which will have classes that are tailored to a variety of careers, but particularly one that would be aiming to prepare someone to be inside of esports in some way, shape, or form. For example, we have a streaming class on the books that takes a student who's never streamed a game before ever to having a Twitch channel and kind of like having a plan for how to build that, or a YouTube channel if they wanted to. And so one of the things that we're developing here is an academic program that really kind of tries to collect together the variety of pathways one can take to get into esports. It's one of the interesting things about the field, as you kind of mentioned earlier, is that it is a variety of things. There's a whole ecosystem really around esports that's a lot more than just actually playing the games themselves, whether it be shoutcasting, whether it be social media, whether it be some element of management or analysis. One of the things we're trying to develop is a way for students to be able to be part of that and focus on that instead of necessarily the gameplay that people often just associate esports with. And so I think that's one of the other unique aspects about our program. The other one is that we do a lot of charity / nonprofit work as well. We do the Extra Life 24-hour charity game stream every year. We have for the last 3 or 4 years. We plan on continuing doing that in the future. And we also provide different work study opportunities as well for our program. And so there's a lot more to esports than what we often think of. And I think that's one of the more unique aspects of our program. The last thing I'll say just about for anyone that's interested in esports at Henderson or just in general, some things I'd suggest to any students is make sure you do your research. There's lots of different programs out there. Some programs that are entirely, instead of looking for existing students, are only looking to recruit new students. There are programs out there that might not have university support yet. That's something I know in our state, we still have a lot of programs that are very much run by students. And that's not to say they aren't capable, they very much are. But it's something to know that when going into it, what you might have to expect and the like, because programs are going to focus on different things. And the last thing is make sure you make the decision that's best for you, whatever it might be. it's a competitive environment out there, and depending on where you want to do it and go and what you want to do, you really want to think about your education though as the most important part of it. What is the degree you want to earn? What do you want to be doing outside of college? Esports is great because it gives you a path to go to school, hopefully maybe get a scholarship and study something you're interested in. But you want to also remember that the goal, of course, regardless of what you're going to, is getting that degree and moving on in your career development.
Yeah, that is excellent advice. I used to be an admission counselor, and that was pretty much my 2 minute spiel. Like, focusing on the outcomes here, guys. Like, you're coming to school to get a degree, to get a job. What is that job that you want to do? Focus on that kind of thing, and make sure it's going to be a good fit for you all around. That is the best advice a college student could ever receive, just generally. So thank you so much for sharing that. So that concludes all the questions I have for you.